you searching for fulfillment? Discover true happiness. Stay tuned to Shalom World.
Hi, my name's Nick, and I'm just really excited to be able to share with you a little bit about what was going on in the Christian faith as we approach Christmas. When I used to live with my parents, I'd sometimes wake up really early and I'd try to sneak through the house, make as little sound as I could, opening doors really quietly, and I'd go out and sit on my deck. And that time, just before the sun rose, was so quiet, so peaceful. Not a sound, no one else was awake. But on the other side, it was also the coldest point of the night and the darkest point of the night. And really, it was that search and that waiting for the sun to rise that was really exciting. I want to talk a little bit today about, in this time of Christmas, waiting, anticipating for the birth of Christ to happen. Now, for each of us, that this waiting, this anticipation, it can play out in different ways, but we have a pretty clear idea of when that's happening. It's not that far away. But sometimes in our lives, we don't always have that clarity of when we'll be waiting for, how long we'll be waiting. We just know that we're in this time of just uncertainty. So I remember a time in my life when I was waiting in this darkness, but I didn't have any sense of when the light was going to come back. It was a time of the worst of what it is waiting for the sun to rise. The darkness, the coldness, it didn't have any of the beauty or the anticipation. It was just lonely. It was just empty. I really felt unsure of where I sat in it all, and reflecting on that time, I know it's because I was absent and I didn't know where Jesus was for me. It was a time in my life when I'd been at uni and I was finding the subjects really stressful. I was finding the friends, the people I was hanging out with were quite toxic and unhealthy in their relationships with me. And I was doing too much. I was committed in all these different clubs, all these different activities, but Jesus didn't have any space in that. He didn't have any part of the equation. Maybe he had Sunday, maybe he had Friday night at youth group, but it was these portions of my life, not my whole life. So this time of darkness and desolation that I was in really came to an end without me expecting it or without me necessarily searching after it. When I experienced God in a new way, he really opened doors for me, because I didn't actually know where I was. All I knew that I wasn't happy. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that it wasn't where I wanted to be. So I was at a rally, a gathering of young people where all these people came together and they had worship and live music. We had time to pray, we had mass. And somewhere in that time, I remember worshiping, and I remember having this opportunity to really thank God for all that he had given me, but also turn to him and say, God, I don't know why I'm in this space right now. I don't know why I'm experiencing these things, but I want you to do something. I need to come to you, because these things in my life, they're actually no longer something that I can do myself. And so I sat and I was there, and simply I was there with God, waiting. And I remember going home from that space and reflecting on it as all these good things came my way, as friends that I had in my life that weren't good for me were replaced by really healthy, good friends. That as I went, I decided that the uni course I was in was no longer something that I was after. And I found a way to serve God in a new way, changing forever the path of my life, only because I'd been able to wait and be in that space and let him transform me. Now, Christmas, we know God is coming. We know Christ is coming. And that gives us a lot of hope. We don't have to play this waiting game or guessing game of when's he going to turn up or when's he going to act in my life. And whether it's on Christmas Day or whether it's somewhere else in our life, we know that this day is such a sign of hope for us. Another day that I experienced waiting for this big transition was another day in my life, but this time I knew it was coming. This time the waiting was still a bit frustrating, it was still a bit hard, but I knew the payoff on the other side was going to be so amazing and so incredible. And it was the day I got married. I remember waking up on that particular day a little bit before the sun rose, and I walked down and I sat on this chair where I could go and look at the sun. People tried to talk to me and I just said, I just need to spend a moment with God. See, up to this point, I'd lived as a single guy, I'd been dating and engaged to my wife, but now is time to turn over a new leaf and take open a new time, a new chapter in our relationship, and also a new chapter in my relationship with God. And I knew to myself, I said, Nick, you've only got to wait 6 more hours. That's when you can get to the church. That's when you get to say the big I do. And that time of waiting was far more peaceful, was far more fulfilling, because I knew what I was about to say yes to. In this time of Christmas, it's a different kind of waiting, because we know it's only a few days until we get to experience the joy of Jesus being born. Now, as Christians, that's huge. That's incredible, because we get to experience anew him in our lives. Now, for some of us, we know exactly what that means. We know that on Christmas, Jesus will be born, and we get to experience that new thing with him. For others of us, maybe we don't know. Maybe this new time with Jesus, we're not sure about. We don't know what he's going to offer us. We don't know what he's got to give for us. But the one thing that we can be certain of is that Jesus is the one true light. Now, on Christmas, there's so much to be thankful for family, for our friends, for the presents, gathering together as communities to celebrate. And all of that in and of itself, that's good, that's great. But we get to go to a new level, a new place. If we're still comparing it to the night sky, each of these things is just a small star. Important, beautiful, but can never compare to the warmth and the light of the Son himself, Jesus. Jesus is our light. And in turn, he doesn't come to be light just so that we are nourished and filled. He does that, but he comes that so in turn, we can be lights. I remember hearing years ago that if Jesus was the sun, then Mary was the moon, because the moon reflected the light from Jesus and was able to give us our own new light without being a source herself. For us, we have the absolute blessing and privilege of receiving communion each Sunday, or more often. To be able to receive Jesus, we in turn become light. We in turn, on earth, get to go out with him. And in some places, be his hands, be his feet, to be the life to those around us that they would not otherwise know. Now, in us being light, that's not only for ourselves. That beautiful scripture of the candle on the lampstand, It's not put there or put under a bowl. No, it's put up on the lampstand so that it can light the whole house. And in that same way, we are called to not only be the light, but spread the light of Jesus. Jesus is the only person that can come into our lives and not only just join us, but overwhelm the darkness. Because darkness is nothing but an absence of light. Jesus comes in a new way to each of us at different times. And all we need to ask of him is that, Jesus, can you be with me in a new way? So in this time of Christmas, of waiting, it might be long. It might be uncertain. There could actually be a definitive point of end. Each person's different. But what we can know is that where there is darkness of not knowing where we sit or where we stand, all we need to do is search for God, search for Jesus. And he can fill that space. In his light, he can light up our life. And with that light that we hold, we go forward and spread that light with others in his name. Jesus is the one true light. And with our lives, all we can do is emulate him. So as we enter into this time waiting for the birth of Christ, let's just remember that although we're waiting, although sometimes in the darkness, there can be beauty in stillness, it's in the sunrise, the birth of Christ, that the beauty of all can be revealed. Christ is light. But what does that mean? Why is Christmas even so important? Well, here's why. Christmas, aside from being the birth of Christ, represents something more. Each of us were born, and each of those are very special moments, but Jesus, as you probably know, is something more. He's fully God, fully man. He, in coming, in being part of humanity, is perhaps God's most humble moment. That he says, I will lower myself to your level so that you may rise to my level of heaven. In Jesus being born, we actually get not only for him to fill the darkness with light, but defeat death. That in death there's no longer emptiness, dullness, and eternal night. No, in death with Jesus, we get an eternal light, an eternal life. That Jesus calls us for something more, something new. He says, come, be with me, because I've come to be with you. How we use this, how we take this on in our own lives, well, it's going to look really different for each person. For me, that makes that time really important to center on family, to center on the people around me, to do something that I probably wouldn't ordinarily do, to go beyond myself, because Jesus went beyond himself. He didn't do just the bare minimum or just what was necessary. He went above and beyond the call of what God was asking and was faithful to that call. So if each of us, we are called into this birth, called into this new life, we're also called into spreading that light. Because it's the only reason that we ourselves can have hope, can have real change. If you discovered a store that was doing 90% off bargains for a day for Christmas, wouldn't you tell someone about it? But even more, if Jesus saved you from death by his grace of his life, he's done more than just get you a cheap present. He's gone above and beyond to another level to give you hope, to give you life. Which is why in Christmas, as cheesy as it is, Jesus is the best present of all. In his birth, there is hope. In his birth, there is brightness. And even at the time of his birth, for the Jewish people, there was this unparalleled hope that maybe he will be the promised king to lead them out of slavery. And today, it's no different. In this world that offers us so much different options, different choices, he's the one that we can look to lead us out of all the stuff. Lead us out of the phony candy canes or the phony things that don't offer anything to us. That if we are in a time of darkness, of uncertainty, of waiting, it's by Jesus' own actions that in following him, we ourselves can inherit and maintain new life. So, in this time of Christmas, whether we're waiting really excitedly for Christ, whether we're receiving the new light of Christ, whether we're sharing that same light out of our own self, or trying to maintain the blessings and graces in our lives, my hope and my prayer for you is that we can take this time to see Christmas as something new, not the same old once a year red and white celebration, but the brand new, unlimited hope of shining a new light upon darkness and death and resurrecting hope for all people. So as we wait the last few days, let's fill ourselves with a new expectation, a new deliverance of waiting patiently. That this Christmas isn't same old, that it's something new. That we can really experience Christ in a new way. It's my prayer for you that you can experience God and Jesus in a new way this Christmas. See it in a new light. I'd also love to just welcome and wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And I hope your holidays are a good one. Thank you and God bless.
A lot of talk in our church today about the new evangelisation, and we might ask, well, what's new about the new evangelisation? One thing that's new is that we're trying to renew the faith in people who should already be Catholic, should already be Christian. Individuals, families, communities, whole cultures that need to rediscover the gospel. And so what's new is that they're getting a new shot in the arm of faith, of evangelisation. Another thing that's new about it is the way that we do that. And the new media and groups like Shalom World TV are very important for bringing the gospel anew to our cultures, to our families, to each of us individually. And so I encourage all the viewers of Shalom World TV, and I encourage Shalom World TV themselves to keep up the good work, to keep watching this channel and to keep up the good work of presenting the Catholic faith to our world today.